Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today, and it's an honor to speak after Dr. Constantinescu. And I'll maybe start by saying that when I was preparing for this event, I realized that actually our host's name, Business and Science Poland, it's actually in a nutshell what we are talking about, or at least what we should be talking about in the context of the hydrogen economy development in the European Union. So science and business. Why science? Because let us be honest, a sustainable hydrogen economy and also domestic sustainable hydrogen production will not happen in the European Union without a breakthrough in innovation. That was also mentioned by previous speakers. Especially if, we are talking about the scale and the time frame that we need to achieve our decarbonization targets. So we need this breakthrough in innovation. And this is also why I suppose we have, for example, our clean hydrogen partnership. We certainly need much more such initiatives, and we also need much more financing for it also at the EU level. And this brings me to second word, which is business. The science will help us to make hydrogen a business case, because we need actually hydrogen to become an opportunity for business, opportunity to produce, to sell this hydrogen, to make profits out of it, but also to become a solution for business. It was also mentioned, especially in sectors hard to decarbonize. We all know what are the sectors: steel, fertilizers, chemical industry, you name it. And this is really crucial if we are serious about our 2030 and 2050 climate targets, perhaps very soon also 2040 target. And as someone nicely put it, hydrogen is maybe not the solution to the challenges of our just energy transition, but it seems that there is no solution in this just energy transition without hydrogen. So I think this is a good starting point for our discussions also here today. So now, where are we with this sustainable hydrogen today in the European Union, but also more globally? Well, of the 95 million tons produced all over the world, 83% currently is fossil-based, and less than 2% can be considered sustainable. So there is a long way to go for all of us. Then maybe you can ask, the future is brighter. Well, unfortunately, not necessarily and not immediately, because at least according to the International Energy Agency report on global renewable energy progress, which was published at the beginning of this month, only 7% of planned hydrogen capacity will come online by 2030. Mr. Constantinescu mentioned that a lot of these projects are still in the phase of PowerPoint presentations. And due to low demand and high production costs, the International Energy Agency actually revised its hydrogen forecast down in all regions except for one, guess whom? China. So the challenge is really serious, enormous, and pressing. But then you could ask, okay, but why we are even sitting here? Katarzyna will say, we never invite this guy again. He ruined the whole hydrogen conference. So I'll try to be more optimistic and quote not only the International Energy Agency report, but also its executive director himself. Dr. Fatih Birol was actually together with Commissioner Kadri Simpson a few months ago in our ITRE committee meeting. And I remember him saying pretty much and sending pretty much the message that developing the hydrogen economy is not about running a sprint. It is rather about running a marathon. So maybe not tomorrow, maybe not today, but maybe hopefully the day after tomorrow, hydrogen will help solve us some of our essential problems. But of course, this will not happen if we just sit and wait. We have to act. And two issues are fundamental: financial visibility and investment certainty. It was also mentioned by previous speakers. And this brings me straight to our gas and hydrogen package, which was already mentioned, and on which I was supporting Mr. Buzek in his work in the European Parliament as the rapporteur. And this package aims to create exactly a well-balanced legal framework to ensure A, predictability, and B, give incentives for investments to boost clean hydrogen production, but also uptake of this hydrogen, and enable to move it freely across borders when and where needed. Very briefly, four key, in my personal opinion, elements of this package. Also, from the point of view, I was trying to choose them, keeping in mind that we are talking about Central and Eastern Europe. So I would say, first point, unbundling rules. We were hearing from many stakeholders, actually majority of stakeholders from the very beginning of our work on this package. They were saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Meaning, at the end, unbundling rules for hydrogen network operators will correspond to existing rules and best practices that we have already in electricity and gas markets. And I think with some safeguards that we also introduced there, it's a good and reasonable solution. The same principle, actually the same logic, applies to clear differentiation between transmission and distribution, which we also introduced in the European Parliament. We believe it should help consumers familiar with the electricity and gas regulation to somehow more easily interact with hydrogen infrastructure and, let's say, find themselves at the hydrogen market. So this is point number one, unbundling rules. Point number two, cost mutualization, allowing cost mutualization between gas and hydrogen in specific cases. We believe it will support the rapid and cost-efficient development of needed hydrogen infrastructure, also through repurposing from existing natural gas networks where it makes sense. And by this, we will achieve, I believe, two goals. First, we will allow potential customers access to multiple producers of hydrogen in different places. So it means normally more choice, more competition, and normally, perhaps maybe in the longer perspective, more affordable prices. And B, ensure that the higher network investment costs associated with new infrastructure development can quickly be overcome. We all know this famous chicken or the egg dilemma in developing hydrogen infrastructure. So we don't build infrastructure because we don't see demand and also supply to meet this demand. And we are not looking for supply, and we don't create demand because there is no infrastructure, because it's too costly to establish it. So also to help that, in addition, we introduced in the European Parliament the so-called intertemporal cost allocation mechanism, which should allow to spread exactly the cost of building new hydrogen infrastructure over time, creating an incentive both for network investment and network usage from day one. Again, we wouldn't like to first comers at the hydrogen market to pay all costs of development of new infrastructure, which then we will be using, I hope so, for years and decades afterwards. And again, this is particularly valid in those countries, not only in the CEE region, where the possibilities of supporting investments in hydrogen infrastructure from the state budget are rather limited. So point number two, cost mutualization. Point number three, upscaling of renewable and low carbon hydrogen in coal and carbon intensive regions. For those of you who know Mr. Buzek, you could imagine that that was something very close to his heart from the very beginning. And just to explain why, let's take steel as an example. We have been producing it using coal for centuries, and there is no coincidence that we have a lot of steel plants in many of our coal regions across the European Union. So now if we want to move to clean steel production based on clean, meaning green or low carbon hydrogen, this will be an additional and particular burden for many EU coal regions. And on the other hand, if we think about it now, if we get it right, if we find synergies also with, for example, this territorial just transition plans, then renewable and low carbon hydrogen can become a driving force for green reindustrialization and just transition of at least some of these regions. And again, after ITRE vote, I've heard some comments that, yeah, these are just words and nice ideas. And I would have to say that this is not about words and ideas. This is actually happening already in the EU. Just to give you two examples, first from Czechia, actually. So talking about Central and Eastern Europe, 3 coal mining regions are transforming into hydrogen valleys with the help of the Just Transition Fund, and this is ongoing process and project. And also Germany announced few weeks, as a matter of fact, ago, that they will support construction of renewable hydrogen electrolyzers and hydrogen storage facilities with more than 250 million euros from the Just Transition Fund. So we need much more such positive examples and to accelerate this process also in other EU countries where it makes sense and where it's possible. And then point number 4, mechanism supporting hydrogen market development. A voluntary mechanism which was again introduced by the Parliament to ensure that all potential hydrogen consumers in the EU can be supplied. So we are again coming back to this dilemma of lack of balance between demand and supply. And this mechanism should foster market liquidity and EU-wide market integration, while what is really important, boosting investor confidence in the long-term stability of this market, meaning that if I have demand for hydrogen, I'm sure that I will be able to find a supplier on the market, because only then, as also Mr. Konstantinescu was saying, only then we will be able to move forward in this regard. And I sincerely hope, I think also it's shared by Mr. Buzek, that in a few years at most, this mechanism will be transformed into what we have now finally for gas, meaning a mechanism for voluntary demand aggregation and joint purchasing, this time for hydrogen. And again, as it was mentioned, this seems to be particularly important and maybe interesting option for some countries in, for example, is the CEE region, where the development of domestic green hydrogen production may take more time. So coming to an end, what is crucial now from my point of view? Implementation of the provisions of the entire package as quickly and as fully as possible. We voted on the package in ITRE, I think last week, and there is still a plenary vote at the beginning of April, and then, but already now, member states can, and also, I mean, all market players can start to adjust to these rules, because they're not going to change anyway. And let's also remember that, as someone recently told me, I don't know, I wasn't checking it precisely, but I was told that there are many, around 50 follow-ups to this legislation, so to the directive and to the regulation, meaning implementing acts, delegated acts, network codes, different reports and assessments that we also mandated the Commission to do. Although, don't be afraid, obviously not all of them concern hydrogen. It's also about biomethane or even natural gas still itself. And the most crucial ones, that's a question also to you. Perhaps it will be discussed as well, but I would say that the most crucial seems to be delegated acts to specify the methodology for assessing greenhouse gas emissions savings from low carbon fuels, which the Commission will adopt in coming months. So a lot is at stake, and as someone ironically told me yesterday, and I think Katarzyna was referring to hydrogen as the energy carrier of the future. My colleague told me, yeah, hydrogen has always been seen as the energy carrier of the future, and it will remain the energy carrier of the future forever. So I don't think that we agree with this statement, and this is not something we would like to achieve. So we should do actually everything possible to ensure that hydrogen becomes the energy carrier of the present, even if this present means perhaps 10 or 15 years. Remember, again, Mr. Fatih Birol's words, it's about marathon, not sprint, but at least we have to start running as soon as possible so that we are not late. Thank you very much.